You meet them, they're in tears. And they say, well, what's the Holy Father doing? Why is he not doing this? And why there's so many people around the place saying that they know what to do and saying the Holy Father is wrong and I can't find a good Mass and the priest, they won't hear my confession. They say there's no hell, there's no punishment for sin. It's un-Catholic. I always say to them, look, you have the gift of faith. All that's required of you is to stay away from sin, say a rosary, go to Mass if you can find a valid Mass, and receive Holy Communion and confession at least once a year. That's all that's demanded of you. You're not responsible for the Church. You're not responsible for the parish priest, or the bishop of the diocese, who is a sinner, or for the cardinal, who is just as bad as anybody else, or just as good as anybody else. You're not responsible for the Pope. You're not responsible for anything but your own soul. Take care of that and put up with it. That's God's will. That's where He's put us. And pray, 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 pray. And keep our faith and inform ourselves. Now there are plenty of books. Now there are plenty of priests. Now there are plenty of organizations. If you want to know what to do, in any case, you have it at your hands if you search. But you've got to search. Because remember, this now is a war. We are now girded for war. There are a battle every day of your life. If you want to know, should you have more children? If you want to know, can you practice contraception? If you want to know, is it wrong to masturbate? Is it wrong to support fetal research? Is it wrong to vote for Mr. Clinton? Is it wrong to attend such and such a Mass? Is such and such a teacher in the church a theologian or a seminary professor or a bishop? Are they wrong or right? You can find out, if you want to find out. But now it's an effort. And there's this difference too in Christ. You know, when I was young, that was a long time ago, 40 years ago, in my teens and in my early 20s, but it was so easy to be a Catholic. Because we had a Catholic community. We had Catholic teachers, we had a Catholic church, we had Catholic cops. The community was Catholic. And if you deviated, somebody lashed you behind, or somebody called you in. It was always something to hold you, to keep it together. Now, and you could be therefore blasé, because you knew there was a safety net. Now there's nothing, no safety net. You're on your own, buddy. You either know the law, and if you don't know it, you get acquainted with it. And if you want to know if you have difficulties and you want to get answers, you can search and find it. But you now have to search. The responsibility is yours. You do it now for your children, and your wife, and your husband, or your friends, or your family, or your factory, or your shop. Now you must find out. You can't simply presume you're okay. You're not. Either do I start a witch and take out my axe and cut off heads, expel people, clean out these Augean stables of the dirt and the muck? Do I get rid of all my heretical bishops? Do I get rid of these cardinals who don't believe any longer and who are in the pay of foreign governments, or who are homosexual, or just are Satanist worshippers? They don't believe any longer. They don't believe any longer. It's a facade. They're now members of a gilt-edged membership club. They've got money, they've got influence, they'll never want, and they're friends, and they can find their pleasures. And what can you do about it? Every indication we have, and it all stacks up to one conclusion and one conclusion only. These, we know, are the last days of these Catholic times. These Catholic times when the Church existed as an organization, accepted everywhere, and viable, and powerful, and strong. That's all over. Apparently Christ has decided that He wants to liquidate that organization and have another one. We don't know what one will come out. We know it will contain a Pope, and it will contain bishops, and priests, and the Blessed Sacrament, and the Rosary. Beyond that, your guess is as good as mine, or the Pope's. We don't know. We know the present one is being liquidated, because nobody in his right senses today will say the Church is flourishing. Nobody in his right senses today will say that Russia is converted, that the Baltic states are returning to religion. They're not. Religion is dying down and dying out. We have situations where virtually whole countries have apostatized. Whether they will return or not, I doubt it. I doubt it. Countries don't return until the chastisement comes. That's another subject we'll discuss. Let us Catholics not be at all self-inflated. We have an ailing, decadent, unstable organization, honeycombed with evil, in the possession of our enemy, dominated by Satan, who now has free run for the last time to do what he can before the end, before Our Lady comes. This is the organization we belong to. And we have weak parish priests. We have some nuns that are very good, and a bale of them who are in feminist rage, this peculiar new feminist rage, which is anti-Marian, anti-Jesus, anti-family, anti-God, anti-fatherhood, anti-motherhood, anti-sonhood, anti-daughterhood, which is out to destroy everything, which is, of course, Satan's purpose. We're in the grip of that, and let's not put a tooth in this either. We have churches in which Christ has ceased to dwell. He has left our tabernacles. It's merely bread because the priest doesn't intend to consecrate. There is no consecration. There's no valid mass. We have bishops who are not validly consecrated. How can they ordain priests? They can't if they're not validly consecrated bishops. Sanctifying grace comes through the sacraments. Now, supposing your baptism is invalid, supposing your confirmation is null, supposing you don't go to confession, supposing when you receive the sacrament it's only bread and wine, it's not the body and blood, you have no sanctifying grace. So we have this organization which we can't be proud of. We have to defend it, and we have to maintain our status in it. But we cannot defend it as godly. It isn't any longer. It is now in the possession of Satan to a large degree. Loyal Catholics, that is, as loyal believers in Jesus Christ, who said, "You are Peter. Upon this rock I will build my church." The first duty we have is, despite our human conclusions, is to have a prejudice in his favor and to say, okay, let's sit back and look at this and consider it closely. There is no resurrection of that organization. It will implode. Come and go to Mass and receive the body and blood of Jesus.